mensonge et de surgir dans ta vérité, pures et dignes de ta victoire.
सूर्यो यथा सर्वलोकस्य चक्षुर्नलिप्यते चाक्षुषैर्बाह्यदोषैः एकस्तथा सर्वभूतान्तरात्मा न लिप्यते लोकदुःखेन बाह्यः नित्योऽयनित्यानां चेतनानाम् एको बहूनां यो विदधाति कामान् तमात्मस्थं येन पश्यन्ति धीरास्तेषां शान्तिः शाश्वती नेतरेषाम्।
नमस्तेऽस्तु महामाये श्रीपीठे सुरपूजिते शङ्खचक्रगदाहस्ते महालक्ष्मीर्नमोऽस्तुते नमस्ते गरुडारूढे कोलासुरभयङ्करे सर्वपापहरे देवी महालक्ष्मीर्नमोऽस्तुते स्थूलसूक्ष्म महारौद्रे महाशक्ते महोदये महापापहरे देवी महालक्ष्मीर्नमोऽस्तुते पद्मासनस्थिते देवी परब्रह्मस्वरूपिणी परमेशी जगन्माता महालक्ष्मीर्नमोऽस्तुते सर्वदुःखहरे देवी महालक्ष्मीर्नमोऽस्तुते जगत्स्थिते जगन्माता महामेरा नमोऽस्तुते सर्वसिद्धिप्रदायिने महामेरा नमोऽस्तुते।
गन्धपुष्पे ओमेकस्मै देवाय ॐ श्रीमीरायै नमः ॐ श्रीमीरायै नमः ॐ श्रीमीरायै नमः।
इदमर्घम् ॐ नमः अरविन्दाय नमः ॐ नमः अरविन्दाय नमः ॐ नमः शान्ताय सर्वपापहराय च ॐ नमो श्री अरविन्दाय।
Mantras of our Lord Sri Aurobindo. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, in your relations with people, act simply and naturally. Get rid of these nervous shrinkings which are weakness. The important thing is to have the right inner attitude, calm and without attachment. With always our love and blessings, says our Lord Sri Aurobindo. Sri Aurobindo's Savitri, Book 2, Canto 5, The Godheads of the Little Life. This little being of thine, this shadow soul, this living dwarf figurehead of darkened spirit, out out of its traffic of petty dreams shall rise. Like a clay trowel kneaded into a god, new made in the image of the eternal guest, it shall be caught to the breast of a white force. Darshan Day Messages, 21st Feb 1913. Our Divine Mother says sincerity means to lift all the moments of the being to the level of the highest consciousness and realization already attained. Sincerity exacts the unification and harmonization of the whole being in all its parts and moments around the central divine will. Words of our Lord Sri Aurobindo, taken from the collective works of our Lord Sri Aurobindo, books SABCL, Book on Himself, Section 3, Difficulties of Pathfinders, Subtopic, Preparing the Sunlit Path, page 464. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, peace was the very first thing that the yogis and seekers of old asked for, and it was a quiet and silent mind that always brings peace that they declare to be the condition for realizing the divine. A cheerful and sunlit heart is the fit vessel for the Ananda, and who shall say that Ananda or what prepares it is an obstacle to the divine union? As for despondency, it is surely a terrible burden to carry on the way. One has to pass through it sometimes, like Christian of the Pilgrim's Progress, through the slough of despond, but its constant reiteration cannot be anything but an obstacle. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, I know perfectly well that pain and suffering and struggle and excesses of despair are natural, though not inevitable on the way, not because they are helps, but because they are imposed on us by the darkness of this human nature, out of which we have to struggle into the light. Ramakrishna was not ignorant that there was a sunlit path of yoga. He even seems to say that it is the quicker way as well as the better. It is not because I have myself trod the sunlit way or flinched from difficulty and suffering and danger. I have made my full share of these things, and the mother has had 10 times her full share. But that was because the finders of the way had to face these things in order to conquer. No difficulty that can come on the sadhak, but has faced us on the path. Against many we have had to struggle hundreds of times. In fact, that is an understatement. Before we could overcome, many remain, protesting that they have a right until the perfect perfection is there. But we have never consented to admit the inevitable necessity for others. It is, in fact, to ensure an easier path to others hereafter that we have borne that burden. It was with that object that the mother once prayed to the divine that Whatever difficulties, dangers, sufferings were necessary for the path might be laid on her rather than others. It has been so far granted her as a result of daily and terrible struggles for years that those who put an entire and sincere confidence in her are able to follow the sunlit path, and even those who cannot, yet when they do put the trust, find the path suddenly easy, and if it becomes difficult again, it is only when distrust, revolt, abhiman, or other darknesses come upon them. The sunlit path is not altogether a fable. But you will ask, what of those who cannot? Well, it is for them. I am putting forth all my efforts to bring down the supramental force within a measurable time. I know that it will descend, but I am seeking its near descent, and with whatever dark obstruction of the earth nature or furious inroads of the Ashuric forces seeking to prevent it, it is approaching the terrestrial soil. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, the supramental is not, as you imagine, something cold, hard, or rock like. It bears within it the presence of the divine love as well as the divine truth. And its reign here means, for those who accept it, the straight and thornless path in which there is no wall or obstacle, of which the ancient rishis saw the far off promise. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, the dark path is there, and there are many who make, like the Christians, a gospel of spiritual suffering. Many hold it to be the unavoidable price of victory. It may be so under certain circumstances, as it has been in so many lives at the beginning, or one may choose to make it so. But then the price has to be paid with resignation, fortitude, or a tenacious resilience. I admit that if born in that way, the attacks of the dark forces or the ordeals that they impose have a meaning. After each victory, says our Lord, gained over them, there is then a sensible advance. Often they seem to show us the difficulties in ourselves which we have to overcome and say, here you must conquer. But all the same, it is a too dark and difficult way which nobody should follow on whom the necessity does not lie. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, so many have done integral yoga relying on tapasya or anything else but not confident of any divine grace. It is not that, but the soul's demand for a higher truth or a higher life that is indispensable. Let me repeat. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, so many have done yoga relying on tapasya or anything else but not confident of any divine grace. It is not that, but the soul's demand for a higher truth or a higher life that is indispensable. Where that is, the divine's grace, whether believed in or not, will intervene. If you believe, that hastens and facilitates things. If you cannot believe, still the soul's aspiration will justify itself with whatever difficulty and struggle, says our Lord Sri Aurobindo. Next subtopic, steps in advance. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, I am afraid I cannot endorse your reading of the situation, at least so far as the mother and myself and the prospects of the work are concerned. I can agree only that we have made a heavy time of it recently and that there has been a strong attack on the plane of the physical and material, but that heavy attacks is a thing that we have been accustomed to for the last so many years, and it has never prevented us from making any necessary advance. I have never had any illusions about the path being comfortable and easy. I know all along that the work could only be done if all the essential difficulties rose and were faced, so their rising cannot tire or dishearten me. Whatever obstinacy there may be in difficulties, whether our own or in the sadhaks or in the nature. If there is much resistance on one side, there have been large gains on the other. All has not been a picture of sterile darkness. You yourself are kept back only by the demon of doubt, which bangs on you each door as you are opening it. You have only to set about resolutely slaying the Rakshasa, and the doors will open to you as they have done to many others who were held up by their own mind or vital nature. Date 12th Jan 1934. Next topic, the increasing descent. And Lord Sri Aurobindo stated on 14th of September 1934, it is true that there is an increasingly powerful descent of the higher force. Many now see the lights and colors around the mother and her subtle luminous forms. It means that their vision is opening to supraphysical realities. It is not a fantasy. The colors or lights you see are the forces from various planes, and each color indicates a special force. The supramental force is descending, but it has not yet taken possession of the body or of matter. There is still much resistance to that. It is supramentalized overmind force that has already touched, and this may at any time change into or give place to the supramental in its own native power, says our Lord Sri Aurobindo.